Hey everybody, what's up? Yeah, this is a welcome to this tradition today of oh, not tradition, but this edition, I should say, of topics on my mind here for February 25th, 2019. Um, in case you're wondering why I'm home, again, check out my special channel update that I did. That's before this live stream. That live stream that I did will explain everything that's gone on lately, um, personally and all that. So just check that out. You'll get a good idea. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and do this um, due to the fact that it's just something I want to talk about. And of course, with the Academy Awards happening last night, it's got a lot of people talking, especially with the ending. It's got people wondering how well they were going to do without a host, stuff like that. So I'm going to get into that as one of the topics. And I got a couple of other topics as well I want to discuss down the line. So I'm going to list those off in just a moment of what those topics are. So without further ado, I should say, let's take a look at what the topics are. And first of all, I'm going to go to edit here so I can make sure I get the topics off right. So the topics I want to talk about today are, I think there's about 8 topics. So this might be a lengthy one. This may not be. Of course, starting off with Academy, we're going to start off by talking about the Academy Awards. Second off, the second topic would be where and what channel Generation 5 of MLP, My Little Pony, may end up. Third, if Bumblebee Movie is a reboot, or the discussion of it. The fourth one after that will be the upcoming proposed Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. Number 5 should be number 5 will be basically about if Friendship with Magic should continue on after G4 as 44-minute movies or full-length movies. Number 6 is about if a certain film comedy about a woman with certain powers could work and who should be the lead. Number 7 is about Warner Brothers, and maybe they should take another stab at re-releasing the latest direct-to-video Scooby movie. And then number 8 is about a certain streaming service. So before I get into that, I'm going to go get me a Coke for a minute. I'm going to get me a bottle of Coke. Hold on. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Couldn't get a Coke. I got myself if you heard anything in the background, I was just thinking to myself about, what's upcoming possibly this week and all that. So, anyway, just thought I'd come on here. Just a little bit. Hold on. There we go. The volume up to about 60. Okay. You guys can hear me. All right. Anyway. So anyway, let's talk about these topics here, shall we? First of all, again, we're going to start off with the first topic, which is basically about last night's Academy Awards. Now, last night, well, not last night, but as we got closer to the Academy Awards, originally, I think it was, who was it? Was it Chris Rock or Chris Tucker? Somebody. Oh, Kevin Hart. I think it was Kevin Hart, I think. I'm not really sure. I think it was Hart. Yeah, I think it was Kevin Hart. I'm not really sure. They were originally slated to host the Academy Awards. And then all of a sudden, I think they said or did something they shouldn't have. And what occurred was because of what they said and did, they ended up being ousted as the host of the Academy Awards. And what happened was the Academy scrambled a bit to try to figure out, okay, who can we get as a host for the Academy Awards? Who can we legitimately get as a host, almost like at the last second or something like that? Like, who can we get to host the events? Like, who can we get to host them? And it was, they didn't know what to do. Obviously, they were looking at certain people, but they couldn't figure out. Basically, I guess they couldn't come up with an agreement as to who should be the host this year. After the whole situation with the original host, so they decided that instead they were going to just go without a host. They were going to try something different, and what they tried was to just go without a host. So yeah, they decided to go without a host, and I have to say that despite maybe some criticisms they may get, I have to say they did a decent job. I have to say they pulled off the whole, working without a host situation very well. Um, I think the way I mean, you could tell. Obviously, it was kind of like, they did what they could. It wasn't perfect. Let's be honest. It was not perfect. It was decent, to say the least. They did what they could. Um, and let's be honest. I'll get into that maybe when I get to that topic, Onyx. But again, let's be honest. This is not the first time, as far as I know, because I've seen the Academy Awards for most of my life. Well, as much as from what I can remember, I've seen them throughout the decades. The past, I would say, when did I start watching them as a kid? I think maybe around the mid to late the 80s or something. Mid to late 80s. Because I think when we were kids in the early 80s, we would probably watch him, but we'd probably fall asleep or something. I think that's basically what it was. But here's the thing: when I watched the Academy Awards last night, and oh, by the way, if you had the Shazam app, you could actually keep in touch with what they were like, what songs were being sang at the times that they were. But as far as the Academy Awards go last night, like I said, I have to say they did a decent job. I mean, as I was saying, you could tell that some things were off. Like, they were always used to throwing it back to a host after one group of presenters, or after like two groups of presenters were done, they would throw it to a host. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do that, so they just did what they could and everything, and went from there. And like I said, I think they did a decent job. I think they did all right, and it's definitely something I think the Academy should look into in the future. Like, okay, if we can't get a host, maybe we could try this again. And I think that might be a good idea. I think this could have been like a testing ground. Like, maybe they thought, well, let's see what happens if we don't have a host. Let's see if anything goes awry or goes a little wrong. And again, I think they weren't flawless, but they pulled it out, I think, very well. I think they pulled it off very well. I mean, there were some rumors going around. I think there were some rumors going around that even on that day or even that weekend, that somebody else that they were actually considering was Whoopi Goldberg, because Whoopi's had experience hosting the Academy as well. But in the end, they just decided, okay, let's see what happens without a host. And like I said, I think they did very well. I think they did good for themselves. And like I said, this is something that the Academy might want to consider. Like, okay, maybe we could do this. Maybe this is something that we could set the standard for. Like, not just for us, but like for other award shows, like the Grammys, the uh, American Music Awards, the AMAs, the CMAs, the Country Music Awards, Billboard, the Golden Globes, the Screen Actors Guild, all those award shows that happen around this time of year and at the end of the previous year. Maybe they could set the standards to have that occur now. So it'll be like, oh, okay, maybe it's a lot more funner to do that, because I can sense in a way, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I could sense in a way that even though they were stressed for time, especially with the acceptance speeches, I could tell that the presenters and the people that won, I could tell that even though they were like a little nervous and emotional, especially those that won the Oscars, I could tell in a sense, and again, maybe it's just me, but I could tell in a sense they felt more relaxed, like they weren't being pressured for time because you had to cut to a host, so that host could do their segment or whatever. Sorry about that. Just had a little bit of itch there. But like I said, they felt like they were more at peace, if you will, with how things were going. As far as the awards go and who won, it was nice to actually see. It was nice to actually see comic book movies after almost a decade's worth get the recognition. I mean, the fact that you had Avengers: Infinity War nominated for at least one Academy Award, I think that was what, visual effects, is good enough. But to see movies like Black Panther and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse not only be nominated for their categories they were in, but to win is is sending a statement, in my opinion. And that statement is sometimes the best movies to enjoy and the best movies that could probably, be the overall unanimous decision isn't to be favorite, I should say, to win any major award is a comic book based movie, because you could do so much more with it than just, oh, well, here's the same old story we've done before, or here's a old school story. Da 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 da. You could do so much more with a comic book movie. You could do so much more. So to see Black Panther, for example, be nominated for Best Picture, even though it didn't win, but to be nominated for Best Picture, I think was just in itself a statement. Like, if a movie like Black Panther could get nominated over Avengers: Infinity War, mind you, then what's that to say for the future of comic book movies? Now, of course, it's not the first time a comic book movie has been nominated for an Academy Award. Of course, you have had The Dark Knight Rises. I think, or The Dark Knight, I should say. You've had The Dark Knight. And it just shows you that with certain people behind the helm, basically behind the director's, behind the camera, in the director's chair, with the pen in their hand writing the script, with the right amount of people, even a movie based on a comic book can succeed and be a movie nobody expected to be one of the best of all time. I mean, Heath Ledger, nobody expected him, even after he passed, to win, what was it, Best Supporting Actor or something like that, Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor, for his portrayal as the Joker in The Dark Knight, but yet he did. So, and hello, Valentine and Onyx. But like I said, yet he did. He won for his portrayal, which was good. Which is very, very good. It was great to see that. So to kind of see that, in a sense, Dark Knight kind of started that momentum trend, and even though it took several years later for it to really pick up, to see movies like Black Panther pick up the slack, if you will, or continue that momentum that was set in stone by Dark Knight, is really saying something. And again, like I said, it opens the eyes of people in Hollywood to be like, maybe if we adapted a certain property here and there, but did it in a way that would be pleasing, very pleasing and entertaining, and would overall enthrall the audience, this could do it. This kind of thing could do it. So to see a movie like Black Panther, get as many nominations as it did, and it won a few of them. It did win a few, which was good. I think it was costumes. I got to look at it again. Hold on for a sec. But to see, you might have Oscar winners here somewhere. Let me see. Hold on. Gonna probably go to the website here. Excuse me. Here we go. Go to the Hollywood Reporter here. Okay, so let's see what we had here. Okay, so Black Panther, like I said, won for Best Costume Design. That was Ruth E. Carter, who was the costume designer for that. They won for Best Production Design. That was Hanna-Barbera and Jay Hart. And it won for Best Original Score. Ludwig Gosselin, or Gosselin. I'm sorry, his name is Ludwig. Let's put it that way. Let's see if there's anything else. No, not really. I mean, there are some other awards they presented, but I don't think they listed them here on the Hollywood Reporter. But anyway, yeah, they won about 3 of them. And that was good. It kind of shows you, even though those 3, some people would say, oh, they don't really matter much. Best Original Score is a top award. Don't get me wrong about that. That is a top award. That's like basically that is the equivalent of almost, well, not a Best Picture. That's almost the equivalent of a Best Director award, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't have in here. Or did they? I gotta see. I don't think they had Best Director. I think they took that out this year. Yeah, I think they did. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Best Director's in there. I was gonna say, what the heck? Anyway, so yeah, even with those 3 awards, it does kind of tell you that comic book movies are a medium to really look into, and to really look into and adapt possibly for a motion picture. And it doesn't even have to be a comic book movie. I mean, look what I'm wearing here. This movie, even though it wasn't Academy Award nominated in 2018 for its 2017 run, still it was a worldwide box office success. Yeah, it made back the money it used to. It made back its budget, is what it did, by being a worldwide success. It made back its box office. It made back its money through the box office globally, is what I'm saying. Now, like I said, they could take something like this, adapt it for the big screen, and with the right people behind it, who knows? You could actually have a nomination for Best Animated Feature, maybe even Best Picture if it's done right. But the point I'm getting at is it just sets in my opinion, the notion that comic book movies based on franchises like toys or whatever, can be successes if having the right people behind it. Now, the other thing about last night, and everybody's talking about it, ABC, of course, talked about it, everybody's talking about it, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper performing Shallow from A Star is Born. And I do have to agree that just when you look back on it, the setting for this movie, or the setting for this performance, felt really, really good. Just had a very cinematic, in a sense, atmosphere, even though it was being performed on the stage at the Dobley Theater. It had a very cinematic, very soothing atmosphere to it. And I am happy at the fact that Lady Gaga won for best original song, because to me, you cannot. I mean, you take a look at the other nominees. Let's see who we had here for best song. Let me see here. I know it's in here somewhere. All right, you take a look at some of the other nominations. Excuse me. You had All the Stars from Black Panther. Good song, but it was more hip hop. It sounded like, and we kind of know how the Academy, especially the people behind it, no offense when I say this, feel about hip hop nominations or hip hop songs being nominated. So we had that. We had All Fight from RBG. I haven't heard of that one. The Place Where Lost Things Go, which was performed by Bette Midler, and she could still go, believe it or not. And that was my dog. She just woke up, a little bit of allergies. The Place Where Lost Things Go. You would think that being a Disney movie, and and ABC being part of Disney, that either it or Black Panther's original song would have probably got the win, but didn't happen. And then, of course, you have When a Cowboy Trades His Spirits for Rings from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Very good. That was a very good song. I'll put it that way. Old school kind of country song, folk song. So you take a look at them. And again, nothing against the performances. They were good. But you take a look at Shallow, and it just outshined. I'm not trying to put any offense on this, but it just outshined. It just outshined, in my opinion, all the other nominations. It's like the moment, and it was weird. It's like it was literally almost like moments after they performed this, boom, they got the win. And you can't tell me, even if the win wasn't already voted on, you can't tell me that even if they didn't win, the performance wouldn't have outshined everybody else's performance, because it would have. I'll tell you this: any of the other songs would have won, would probably been good, but they probably would have faced a lot of backlash as well, because if you're watching the Academy Awards and you see Gaga and Bradley Cooper put on the performance they did, and then you have another song win instead of Shallow. You're going to get some backlash. It's like, how could you choose, let's say, All Fight over Shallow? Or how can you choose when a cowboy trades his spurs for rings over Shallow? How can you do that? You can't do that. So thankfully, they made the right decision. And I think this is and to me, honestly, this is the honest truth. This is the honest to God truth. Lady Gaga has proven not only to be a multi talented singer and actress, or diva as they would like to call it, but she is definitely, to me, this is the first step for her in a long list of opportunities and future accomplishments that she's going to get in the future. It's a long list of accomplishments and stuff she's going to get in the future. There's no doubt about that. You think her doing what she did in A Star is Born, even getting that nomination for Best Actress, which she didn't win, I was surprised by that. Um, it's just the big, is good enough? No, it's just the beginning. Her being nominated for Best Actress, she may have not won, but the next movie role she gets, believe it or not, if she gets nominated for that role, whatever it may be, she's going to end up winning. You can already see it. You can already see she's going to end up winning. Sorry, I hit my mic there. But like I said, she's going to end up winning, and I think everybody knows it. And that's my dog. She's just scratching herself underneath my chair because did a bit of an itch on the back. And she's okay. She's healthy. She's fine. But anyway, like I said, do not be surprised. The next big role that Lady Gaga gets put in, she ends up winning the Academy Award for Best Actress. Do not be surprised if it's for that or even supporting actress. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised by that. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the other win of the night that really, like I said, set the standard for comic book movies was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for winning Best Animated Feature. Here's the thing. My big sister, she came into the living room she came into her living room. She came into her living room um, just as they were making the nominations, announcing the nominations, and she saw who was being what movies were being nominated or what animated features were being nominated, and she saw. Let me see who they were again. Hold on, I think they're in here. Hold on, let me see. Come on. Okay, she saw that along with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you had Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Miria, and Ralph Breaks the Internet. And those were all good. Those were all good nominations. And I thought, in a sense, you would look at Isle of Dogs and be like, oh, that's probably going to win because it's Wes Anderson, it's stop motion, it's very good. It looks, everybody has praised it. But yet, Spider Man Into the Spider Verse won it all. And it really, to me, if you've been hold on for a second. Sorry about had to feed my dog some for meat. She has a way of trying to get me to do that, and sometimes I do it, and sometimes I just give her a snack or a dingo, one of those meat dingoes they have. Anyway, like I said, you take a look at all those nominations, and again, just like with Black Panther, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse winning not only kind of opens the door for everything else, like comic book movies, animated show-wise, toy-wise, whatever, to be adapted into a decent movie that could get these kind of nominations. But if you've been a critic of Sony animation, this really has, in my opinion, doesn't totally atone for a lot of what people say about Sony Animation's past, but to me is a stepping stone to Sony Animation being like, you know what? We screwed up in the past. Now we're going to make up for it. So hopefully, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse winning is like the first step for Sony Animation to really atone for a lot of the screw ups they made. I mean, the fact that they had people behind Spider-Man that have worked on the comic books and stuff, kind of behind the scenes helping them make this movie, to me, like I said, sends a message as well that maybe if you're going to adapt something like a comic into an animated form, or like let's say this, or Transformers, for example, or whatever, then maybe you need to have the people that know what the fans want to see. They want to see something stay true to its original origins, in a sense, be behind the scenes helping you or taking the helms, if you know what I mean. Now, here's the thing. The last, of course, with the Academy Awards or with any award show, the major award is always the last award. The award of all awards is always the last one to be handed out. Whether it's record of the year, album of the year, television, show, live action TV show of the year, animated show of the year, whatever. When it comes to the Academy Awards, the last one, of course, is Best Picture. Now, throughout the night, it all seemed like fingers and arrows were pointing to either A Star is Born or Bohemian Rhapsody. Excuse me. Sorry about hit my neck on there, but it was either pointing at A Star is Born, Bohemian Rhapsody, or maybe even Vice, and perhaps maybe even Black Panther. But the one that really surprised a lot of people was Green Book. Now, Green Book did win a couple awards before that. Let me get back and see if I can find it. It won for Best Supporting Actor, and it won for Best Original Screenplay. Let me see if I can find anything else here. Okay, so it won for those two. Now, what that kind of tells me is, now I don't know if this is something that's happened in the past at the academies, as far as I know, but apparently, anytime a movie wins best screenplay of any kind, mostly it looks like original, that's going to be a strong indication that it'll probably win Best Picture. But what got people upset about this was the fact of what Green Book was about and what it was based on. You know what I'm saying? You know, people did not like it at all. Did not like the idea. In fact, Spike Lee, who by the way, Spike Lee, who you've known for doing movies like Do the Right Thing and a few others, Spike Lee won for Black Klansman. Okay? And he had a great speech, mostly mostly mentioning the 2020 election coming up, saying "do the right thing," which was of course is a reference to his movie that he did, but also "do the right thing" is do the right thing for this country, nominate the right person. Um, but Green Book, it really surprised a lot of people because of the fact of the message that it supposedly set in the screenplay. You know, it's like, why would you want to nominate this movie when you know what it's about? In fact, Spike Lee, Spike Lee even was furious about this, according to Fox News. This is what he said. This is what the headline on Fox News says. It was published 16 hours ago, but this is what they said. Spike Lee furious when Green Book won Best Picture Oscar, appears to try and storm out of theater. Report. It says hold on for a second. I don't think you can hear. There you go. Sorry about that if you heard that. But anyway, it says that Spike Lee, the famed director whose Black Klansman was up for the Best Picture Award at the Oscars on Sunday night, appeared to try to storm out of the Dolby Theater after it was announced that Green Book won the award. Now, it says here that Lee, who's also a lifelong Knicks fan, compared the Green Book win to a referee making the wrong call. Now, this is what they said. In a stunning move, this is what Fox reports. In a stunning move, shortly after Green Book was announced the winner, the director, that being Spike Lee, a Black Klansman, walked towards the back of the auditorium, according to a reporter for Deadline. He eventually got back to his seat and got into what appeared to be an intense conversation with the writer Jordan Peele. The report that Lee turned his back to the stage during the speech. Now, this is what Andrew Dalton, I think this is the reporter for the Deadline, I don't know. It says on a Twitter, it says, Spike Lee was visibly angry when Green Book was announced as the winner of Best Picture at the Oscars, waving his arms in disgust and appearing to try to storm out of the Dolby Theater. Before he was stopped at the doors, he returned to his seat when the speeches were over. It says here that Jordan Peele, who was sitting behind Lee, also declined to applaud the winner, as did others in the room. And this is what Lee said while backstage. It says, this is what Spike Lee said backstage, and I quote, I'm snake bitten. I mean, every time somebody is driving somebody, I lose. But they changed the seating arrangement. But in 89, I didn't get nominated, so this one we did. It says, Lee's Do the Right Thing lost to Driving Miss Daisy in 1990. He told the New York magazine years later that when Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture, that hurt. But no one's talking about Driving Miss Daisy now. Now, according to this, it says Lee said he had 6 glasses of champagne and attempted to make light of his reaction. He said, wait a minute. What reaction did you see? What did I do? No one thought it was courtside at the Garden, and the ref made a bad call courtside. The world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. Knicks coming back next year. Now, they have a tweet by Deadline Hollywood that shows that Spike Lee is clearly furious over Green Book's Best Picture Oscar win. Yeah, just trying to. So yeah, basically Green Book faced a lot of backlash. And Los Angeles Times here even says Green Book is the worst Best Picture winner since Crash. Now, I read somewhere online. That apparently you got a whole group of different kind of voters with the Academy, and that even some of the newer voters that are part of the Academy may not be in favor of something like Green Book winning and would prefer something else. It's the older voters that I guess have more seniority or something that favor something like that. So maybe if it's the older voters, this is what I'm getting from what I read earlier. If it's the older voters, then apparently they're more old school is what it sounds like. They're more old school, like, oh yeah, this is the kind of movie people like to watch. This is good. Or I said, I don't know. I mean, honestly, there are at times that the right decision is made, and this right decision, and the right decision, the right movie to win Best Picture is made, and that's the right decision. Sometimes it's the wrong decision too, and in the case of Green Book, I guess it's very wrong. And it's like, and here's what's funny: the moment it won, my family was like, "What movie?" They didn't know. They did not know uh, what movie they were talking. What movie Green Book was. So yeah, not everybody likes it. In fact, New York Times even put up an article about 2 hours ago. The article they put up 2 hours ago says what Green Book says about the Academy, our critics on the Oscars. Basically, this is what New York Times says 2 hours ago. This is what they reported. This was reported by, let's see, who reported this? I'm trying to see. By Mahal Dargis, A.O. Scott, and Wesley Morris. This is what was reported on New York Times about 2 hours ago. On the New York Times 2 hours ago. It says, and I quote, "It makes perverse sense that the biggest movie show on earth provided ridiculous drama, unsurprising twists, and cartoon villains leading up to Sunday's ceremony, including ill-advised proposals like a so-called ill-advised proposals," and then in parentheses it puts like a so-called popular Oscar, "that were either shelved or jettisoned. So perhaps it was unexpected that the actual Academy Awards would deliver a predictable bummer ending." Manhol Darius and A period or A dot O dot Scott or A.O. Scott are co-chief film critics join Wesley Morris, a critic at large, to talk about the diverse slate of winners, Roma's not surprised loss, and yes, Green Book. So I'm looking through this, and I'm sorry if I hit the mic there again. Okay, so here's what MD, I'm just going to call him MD for short, and I apologize for that. This is what he says. He talks about Green Book and its director Peter Farrelly saying that the movie's whole story is about love. It's about loving each other despite our differences and finding the truth about who we are. We're the same people. Now, MD says in response to that, in response to the director Peter Farley's discussion of what the movie was about, he says, MD says, I wasn't feeling the love. I wasn't feeling the love. So to make myself feel worse, I rewatched the acceptance speeches for Crash, the last Best Picture winner that made me loathe these awards. When Crash won in 2006, the producer Kathy Shulman said, "Thank you to all the members of the Academy for embracing our film about love and about tolerance, about truth." Now, A.O. Scott says, as Spike Lee won an Oscar, so did Regina King and Olivia Colman. Alfonso Cuarón won 3. All of that sparked joy to cite Maria Kondo, who was at the Dolby Theater and maybe should have been consulted on that weird stage design. So did the absence of a host, which I hope becomes a tradition. And I agree with that. This is a good direction to go with. He says, the upside of the Kevin Hart fiasco, that's who it was, Kevin Hart, who was supposed to be the original host, was that we didn't have to endure the desperate, self-conscious brand extension of a failing comedian or the forced graciousness of a movie star who would have preferred to be seated among the nominees. Instead, the presenters were allowed to carry the night and to infuse it with glamour that felt to me both old-fashioned and distinctly of the moment. It was an impressive, inclusive bunch with respect to gender, generation, background, and celebrity pedigree. Queen Latifah, Akua Wafin, I can't pronounce that right, Serena Williams, Barbara Streisand. That diversity is the result of carefully managed optics, to be sure, but it also felt like a plausible representation of reality. Now he goes on to say, this being A.O. Scott, of course, the reality is more complicated. This is still Hollywood we're talking about, so there had to be some dishonest or uh, uh, dishonesty beneath the heartfelt harmonizing. There were lots of love for Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody, but not a single mention to any acceptance speech of its director Brian Singh. Hashtag Me Too. What? Who? And in the year of Black Panther and Black Klansman, and of quote, and of Sorry to Bother You, Blind Spotting, how County This Morning, This Evening, and Windows, the Best Picture trophy went to a movie whose best friend is black, a movie that doesn't see color, a movie about how all lives matter. Green Book believes itself to be a movie about racial progress, but its victory smacks of backlash. And I'm sorry if I said some of that wrong. Now, Wesley Morris chimes in, Tony the set. It was the reoccurring bathroom art from Russian Doll come disturbingly to life. Now, this is what Wesley says. Anyway, would a concept like a revitalizing apply here, whatever? Is Best Picture territory reclaimed or doubled down against? Does this constitute a reassertion of authority, as you both enumerate things are changing within this organization? And yet Green Book's victory makes all kinds of sense. I guess he's in favor of Green Book. He says, first of all, the changing that's been reported about the Academy's membership. It's getting less white and less male every year. It's not yet entirely reflective of all that change, white and male, and at this point, capable of feeling better about a movie like Green Book, more than say a movie like Vice, a fever dream about Dick Cheney. Green Book is the more convincing progressive fantasy. Second, and I say this as someone who doesn't like Green Book, the movie works as a movie. Peter Farrelly makes comedies, and this movie, if you're inclined to find laughs at the friendship at the movie center, is funny. So yeah, out of the three, and hello Christian, nice to see you. Um, anyway, out of the three, it seems that Wesley Morris is more in favor of the fact that Green Book. He looked at Green Book more like it's a movie for movie's sake. It's not perfect or anything like that. It's a movie for movie going sake. It's a casual movie you can go and see if there's nothing else to see, and you might come out and like it. But yeah, to say the Academy Awards or any award show in recent years has not ended with some kind of controversy, despite what kind of winners you got, is saying a lot. And to say that the Academy Awards ended on a controversial note, especially with Green Book winning, despite how you feel about it, you know, maybe it's going to lead to change behind the scenes. Maybe it's not. I don't know. The thing I look at is I could see where people like Spike Lee and others are coming from. I get it. I get the idea. The movie had, in their opinion, had a message or a feel to it that just felt like it shouldn't have been not even nominated for a Best Picture or put into that category. So I understand. But like one article, like I said, this one article I read earlier that basically mentioned in it that part of the voting squad, part of the voters at the Academy are kind of old school. They're kind of like been there for a while. So maybe to them, Green Book is the kind of movie that uh, feels very, you know, very good. Feels like it's the best representation of Best Picture, because you got to remember when you get down to when you get down to it about the Academy Awards, you would think the movies that have been seen by everybody across the lands, everybody, that those kind of movies that get nominated should be the winners because everybody's seen them. But lately, it's all come down to movies that have been seen independently. Like you go to a small cafe theater or whatever they're called, arts theater, and the movie's playing there only, or in those kind of venues. Those are the kind of movies that are going to get the nominations. The movies that most times get seen at Sundance or film festivals, and then, like I say, end up at those art houses, are the ones that are most likely to get nominated in Best Picture. Because I think what they're trying to do, when you think about it, is they're trying to go back to the old ways of how movies should be viewed. Like the movies that are not big budget flashes and all that, but more like down to earth, old school, enjoyable, whatever. Stuff like that. And maybe that might change in the future. I mean, it has been proven that movies that have a lot of substance to it, have the total package, they work. They can win movies. Titanic had that. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King had that. So to me, it's more along the lines of when you take a look at the Academy, right now you got to look at the fact that the people behind the scenes are more about the movie, or more about voting when it comes to Best Picture, or more about, unless they have no other choice, or more about lately the kind of independent, old-fashioned, old school kind of movies. That's what they are. So hopefully next year things might change. Hopefully by next year things might change, because you do have some movies coming out this year that should get some nominations. They should. They should get some nominations, Asians for Best Picture or whatever. I look at it this way, and I look at it this way. I look at Frozen 2, even though we just got a teaser trailer for it. If that teaser trailer is any indication of what we might get overall in some shape or form in that sequel, do not be surprised if Frozen 2 not only becomes a big budget box office hit across the globe and breaks numerous records, but don't be surprised if it gets nominated for an Academy Award when it comes to Best Picture. Don't be surprised by that. Because I won't. I won't be surprised. But anyway, when you get down to it, unless they decide, okay, the Academy Awards are now going to get voted on by the people, not the people behind the scenes, but the actual film goers, like people like you or me, only then could you see change. Only then can you see change. And there's no doubt, if they go that route in the future, that movies like a Black Panther or movies like a Bohemian Rhapsody or A Star is Born would end up winning Best Picture. There's no doubt. But anyway, that's enough on that. It's enough on that one. Be right back. All right, guys, I was just adjusted there. All right, I was just checking something there for a second. Just checking something. Okay. All right, next thing I want to talk about is where and what channel Generation 5, which is coming, from what we understand, My Little Pony is going to may end up. I put made. I put made instead of may. So let's switch that here for a second. There we go. Save changes. All right, where MLP Generation 5 may end up. Now, there have been rumors. I talked about this in my special Topics on My Mind edition, where I talked about My Little Pony, especially because it's the last season upcoming. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Generation 5. There was a rumor going around. Now, I don't know if this is still a rumor and this is still being considered as its destination, but there's a rumor going around that Cartoon Network could end up as the home for Generation 5. Now, I don't know if that's going to be entirely true, if that's going to be the destination, because right now, when you take a look at the fact that it's pretty much when you take a look at the fact that Friendship is Magic is pretty much engraved into the Discovery Family lineup, infused, if you will, it kind of tells you that there's no other choice, in my opinion, than to keep going with Discovery Family. Despite what's happening behind the scenes, to me, staying with Discovery Family is probably the best option, because no offense to Cartoon Network. I mean, they're going to probably get a hit show. They're going to get a hit show in DC Superhero Girls next month. They're going to get that. There's no doubt that's going to be a huge hit. It might even outdo Teen Titans Go, believe it or not. But But when you take a look at Cartoon Network as being an option for My Little Pony Generation 5, I'm not saying it's a bad option. It could give it more exposure, but Cartoon Network has been known to shuffle the deck when it comes to these kind of shows. Even their own original shows have been shuffled around. You you want a good example? Adventure Time, Steven Universe. Those are two hit shows Cartoon Network has had that they've shuffled around. I owned a little bit, and I'm just adjusting my headset mic there. That they've shuffled around over the past several years that they've been on the show. They've been on the network to where you don't know exactly what channel they're going to, or what not what channel, but what time they're going to be on, what established time frame they're going to be on. So, so to me, Cartoon Network might seem like a bigger, that might seem like a more smarter choice when it comes to wanting to really expand globally. It might be the more logical choice, to get a more massive, outreach. But I think honestly, Discovery Family is the place they should remain. They pretty much, like I said, they're pretty much infused there. They're pretty much engraved there. And as I said in the other topics on my mind video, which was the MLP special edition, I said basically any time that they do a marathon for My Little Pony, whether it's during the holidays or whatever, one of the things they add into that marathon is specials and movies or mini movies and specials from G3. That's what they do. Alongside, let's say, the First Equestria Girls and Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games and Legend of Everfree. You know, as well as now, Forgotten Friendship, Roller Coaster of Friendship. The upcoming uh, Spring Breakdown or the upcoming Rainbow Road Trip or Best Gift Ever. You know, alongside those, they also show things like A Very Minty Christmas from G3. They show the other G3 stuff as well. I think the what was it, Princess Palamon or whatever her name is. They show those kind of specials. So to me, I think G5 is better off staying with staying on Discover, debuting on an already established network for Friendship is Magic. I mean, for My Little Pony, and that's Discovery Family. I mean, think about it this way. Think about it this way, guys. Everybody looks at Nickelodeon, on some of the Nickelodeon stations, as being basically known now as the SpongeBob Network. Even though they have other shows there, they're known as the SpongeBob Network. And that's pretty much the case. They're known as the SpongeBob Network. It's like you can't go a day or an hour without here's SpongeBob, here's SpongeBob, here's SpongeBob, here's oh God kind of deal. It's like enough's enough, right? So to me, you can, and the same goes for Cartoon Network. Some people now look at it at times as the Teen Titans Go network. Here's Teen Titans Go. Here's another Teen Titans Go. Whatever. The only difference between the two is Teen Titans is, I hate to say this, more tolerable than SpongeBob. But getting back on topic, Discovery Family could be looked at as the My Little Pony channel. Because even though they have other shows like Littlest Pet Shop, Transformers Rescue Bots, Transformers G1, Transformers Beast Wars, whatever they call it, or Transformers Prime, G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe Renegades, G.I. Joe Sigma 6, G.I. Joe Real American Hero, Gem, and all that, even though they have those shows along with many others, like Cake Boss and whatever they do that's non-Hasbro, a majority of the mornings sometimes are My Little Pony. So To me, I think honestly, they should not risk, in my opinion, they should not risk the chance of putting My Little Pony on an already crowded network that favors sometimes one show over the others. So if I'm Hasbro, I keep My Little Pony of any kind on Discovery Family, and I keep it, you know, on Saturday mornings if I can. And in fact, I'll say this. If G5 is the place to go, this is what they should do. G4 is still going to be looked at as the definitive My Little Pony show. The one incarnation of My Little Pony nobody could touch. Okay? I mean, you tell me what other shows out there have gone this far and have developed shirts, clothing items, merchandise, and all that for not just one gender, but for all genders. You know what I'm saying? And not just for kids, but for people of all ages, grown-ups, college students, high schoolers. How many properties have developed the fan base that this has? Not many. People compare the MLP fandom to Star Trek fans, the Trekkies. And that's a fair comparison. It really is. But in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, never, my opinion, when you have something as a staple of your channel, and you pretty much know is always guaranteed to be on, and you always know people will be able to find, then don't risk having it switched over to another channel. I mean, let's take a look at it this way. Do you see Nickelodeon saying, okay, we're going to sell the rights to SpongeBob to Cartoon Network, and we're going to let Cartoon Network take it? People that still love SpongeBob know when SpongeBob is on, unfortunately. So if SpongeBob was to go to Nickelodeon, SpongeBob might just be only on maybe once or twice a day, but then later on get lost in the shuffle. Let's take another show, for example, Gravity Falls. It was one of the big hits for Disney. Big hit for Disney, and thank you, Frank Hill, for sending me the complete series on Blu-ray. But let's say Gravity Falls got sent to Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon is this big conglomerate is basically known as the SpongeBob Network, in my opinion. So, do you think Gravity Falls would survive, or would they get moved around? You see what I'm saying? Heck, even Rise of the Ninja Turtles, this new incarnation, which is very controversial in the eyes of fans because they don't know what to make of it, is getting shuffled around, and nobody knows what time it comes on legitimately. And the heck, Nickelodeon has Power Rangers. Power Rangers now under the Hasbro name. So eventually, I think Power Rangers is going to end up off of Nickelodeon in some place where people can find it. Do you think people are able to find Power Rangers on Nickelodeon without having to realize, oh, Power Rangers is coming on, but instead of Power Rangers, it's it's SpongeBob? Do you think people are going to know when you think people are going to know when Power Rangers is on when Nickelodeon, no offense to them, can't even decide where it's going to be on? I'm just saying. To me, the best solution, in my opinion, the best solution is to keep My Little Pony on Discovery Family, even if it's Generation 5. And the best way I think people will be able to discover it is you make your Saturday morning block G4 and G5. You can have your other shows, but you save maybe a Pacific 2 hours worth for 1 hour of G4 and 1 hour of G5. And I guarantee you, people will not only watch G5, but they might even and I guarantee you, people may not only watch G5 and give it a chance, they might enjoy it. So, my opinion is keep G5. If you want people to watch G5, Generation 5 of My Little Pony, keep it on Discovery Family. Keep it there. Don't move it anywhere else. Keep it on Discovery Family. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean for that to fall or anything. Hopefully everything's working right. Yeah, everything's working good. All right. Yeah, sorry for that falling, guys. Didn't mean for that to happen. Okay, so you guys can still hear me? Good. But anyway, yeah, I would say just keep. Okay, just put it up a little bit more. Whoa, way too. Was that too high? Let's say, whoa, I thought it said 67 there. Sorry about that. But anyway, like I said, I would keep My Little Pony. Doesn't matter what kind of generation it is or incarnation. I keep it on Discovery Family where you know people can watch it and find it. That's what I would do. All right. Next topic to talk about here is the Bumblebee movie being a reboot. All right. So nobody really knew exactly at first when the Bumblebee movie came out, or even before it came out, nobody knew about what was it going to be like. I mean, we knew we were going to get basically a more faithful adaptation of Transformers Generation 1 in some shape, form, or capacity. But nobody really knew what this was going to be. Was it going to be a prequel to the Michael Bay films? What it was going to be? Now, one of the people behind it, Lorenzo De Aranis, I think his name is. I'm not really sure. Lorenzo De Aranis or whatever. He basically finally came out and said that yes, because he at first said about a month or two ago, he said something that was very confusing. He basically made it sound like, yes, it is a prequel, but he didn't specifically say what kind of prequel, or something like that. He didn't really specifically say, yeah, it's a prequel to a new incarnation of Transformer movies, or it's a prequel to the Michael Bay films. Well, thankfully, I guess, in a way, you can say that he finally confirmed that, yes, the Bumblebee movie is a reboot. It's the start of a new slate of Transformer films, as they should have probably been. Because we are going to get, apparently, an Optimus Prime film out of this, and maybe several others. I think we're also supposed to get an origin story, like it takes place on Cybertron. That's one of the ideas. So a lot of people have been asking me, including Frank Hill, who sends me some movies and stuff my way, and thank you, Frank, for doing that. Asked me what my thoughts were, and here are my thoughts. I might be in the minority, very small minority, but I never really had a problem with the Transformer live action films. I mean, I have all of them as we speak. I haven't really watched, though, I will admit, I've watched the first three. I've watched the first Transformer movie, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, but I haven't watched Last Night, or I haven't watched The Age of Extinction or The Last Night. I haven't watched those yet. I plan to do that eventually. But I don't really have a problem. I think some people were okay. What I think, I don't know which one it was. Was it Age of Extinction or The Last Night? I'm not really sure. It was one of them. In fact, I think I can look it up here. It was one of them at the height of My Little Pony, which still is going strong, believe it or not. Hold on, let me see. Age of Extinction. Okay, Age of Extinction had a cameo for a Rainbow Dash toy that got turned into basically a gun. So, anyway, getting back on point here. There were some people, I don't know which one it was. I don't know if it was The Last Night or Age of Extinction, but one of them a lot of people thought was probably a better, or hopefully was going to be the right step up in a direction that needed to be made when it came to Transformers. Unfortunately, we didn't see that, and we ended up getting. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Instead, we ended up getting the Bumblebee movie, which I thought, which I haven't seen it yet, but there have been some clips floating around, and it looks really good. It looks really good. Some of the scenes look really good, and I cannot wait to see it myself. I heard Frank Hill is probably planning to send it my direction when it comes out. Matter of fact, let me see when that is coming out, honestly. In fact, let me go to Amazon. Maybe that'll show me better. Better. Oh, and just to let anybody know, just to let someone like Frank Hill know or Ignacio Hernandez know, I did end up getting Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island on DVD for the first time. I mean, yes, I did kind of put it onto DVD when I had the VHS. I still have the VHS, and I was able to put it on DVD because my DVD player had some RF connections on the back. But I did finally get the official DVD as well. So hold on for a sec. See when it's coming out. Comes out April 2nd, so almost in less than a month. So April 2nd is coming out on Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K. Maybe by then I might have a 4K player, so we'll see. Well, actually, I do have a 4K player. It's my Xbox One S, but you get what I'm saying. So anyway, and they do have the story of Bumblebee on Prime Video if you have a Prime membership. Um, anyway, like I was saying, um, what was I getting? Oh yeah, not a lot of people. People. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know which one it was, but people basically felt that one of those, either Age of Extinction or The Last Night, was basically a step in the right direction. But instead of getting another sequel, we got the Bumblebee movie. And again, like I said earlier, nobody really knew exactly what this was going to be. I mean, we knew it was going to be a prequel, but we didn't know whether or not it was going to be a prequel to the Michael Bay films or it was going to be a prequel to a reboot of the entire film franchise. And the latter was basically finally revealed. And I think that's a good move on Hasbro's part. I mean, nothing against the Michael Bay films. You can all have your opinions on it. Doesn't matter. If you don't like it, if you felt like it was unfaithful or whatever, that's fine. To me, I was just glad to get live action Transformer movies finally. That's what I was glad about. But to me, if a reboot means being more faithful, design wise, and character wise, I'm all for it. Again, I don't know what movie will be next. Apparently, it might be either an origin movie that takes place on Cybertron, or it's going to be uh, an Optimus Prime movie. I'm cool with either one. I mean, this is what I want to see out of it. Honestly, this is what I want to see out of it. I want to see an origin story of how this all began, the war and all that. I want to see an Optimus Prime movie. Yes, I do. And you should. And if I'm Hasbro and I'm the people behind that Optimus Prime movie, then with Cybertron's movie, with the origin movie that might come before or after it, either way, both movies not only should have Prime, and obviously both will, but you have to include Alita 1. Include Alita 1 in one of those films, if not both of them. And not just a throwaway character like you did, and I hate to say this, in what was it? In Revenge of the Fallen. No. You have to bring Alita 1 in as a major character in the Optimus Prime spin-off film and the Cybertron film as well, which is the origins of how the war began. You need to do that. To me, that is what's necessary, in my opinion. You need to go that direction, no matter what. Go that direction. Bring her in, make her a major character. And yes, if she has to die, if you have to kill her off, maybe at the end of the film or one of them, hey, at least you'll give Prime more than just enough reasoning to want to end this war because he's lost his love. I would say go for it. I'd say bring her in. In both films. But it's not just those films I want to see. I want to see films based on the headmasters and the target masters, and don't call them Titan masters. They're not Titan masters. They are target masters and headmasters. Bring those, do stories on those. People are fans of those characters, fans of that concept. You can only imagine what it'll look like on the big screen. Can only imagine. So I would like to see something on the target masters and the headmasters as well as a sense of, yes, you need to do a story of how they return to Earth, but do it as an adaptation of More Than Meets the Eye, the original three-parter of Transformers G1. Do it that way. Don't do it the way you've done in Bumblebee. Don't do it in the way you did in the original 2007 Transformers film. Do it properly. Do it in a more traditional, more like faithful adaptation. Now you might say, well, what about the other characters? That's what I'm getting at. Those are just some of the ideas I want. But here's an idea I know fans would love to get. And there's no question about it. No question. Fans want to see a proper representation of Unicron. Not just, oh, he's always part of the Earth kind of deal. No. They want Unicron as you saw him in the 1986 film. Do a movie, Transformers movie, that introduces him the proper, respectable way, and I guarantee people will love it. But those are just what I want to see besides the two rumored films to come out of this. But yeah, my thoughts on Bumblebee being a reboot, I'm cool with it, especially if it means we're going to get more G1 accurate films in the future. So anyway, that's all I could say on that. Next up, let's talk about the upcoming proposed Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. Now, in case you guys don't know, and I'm going to look this up to make sure I get the information right. Okay, in case you guys don't know, there's plans, and this was reported back as far as 2016. This is reported back as far as 2016 that a new film based on Scooby-Doo is coming, and it's called Scoob. Now, apparently, Scoob is going to be animated. It's going to be an animated film. In fact, I gotta look this up. Hold on, guys. Yeah. It says, as of 2013, about 6 years ago, Warner Brothers Pictures was developing a fully animated Scooby-Doo feature film with Atlas Entertainment. Charles Roven and Richard Suckle, who produced the first two live-action films, were producing the animated film. And Matt Lindbergh was writing the film. In 2014, Warner Brothers was restarting the film series with Randall Green writing a new movie. As of 2015, Warner Brothers had Tony Savon, Savon directing an animated film with Allison Abati as producer and Dan Provelman as executive producer. Originally planned for September of 2018, it was later pushed back to May 15th, 2020, with Dax Shepard directing, co-directing, and co-writing. Now, it shows you that this has been in the works for a while. It's been pushed back for a while. Now, back in 2016, Screen Rant and Screen Crush mentioned something, and I'm going to make sure I get this right. Flash Film Flicking, it's called Flicking, Nerdist, and IGN, and Fuse.tv all reported this back in the spring of 2016, so almost 2 years ago. It states that Warner Brothers at this time announced the title of the upcoming Scooby-Doo reboot, as well as plans for more Hanna-Barbera movies in a scissor reel at CinemaCon 2016. The new movie, titled Scoob, originally planned for 2018, according to Slash Entertainment Film, it will be the first of several potentially interlocking Hanna-Barbera movies. Warner Brothers hasn't said yet, and this is back in 2016. Warner Brothers hasn't said yet how this will work, or what cartoons it might be looking for, or might be looking at for future films. But the Hanna-Barbera roster has plenty of options. Johnny Quest, the Flintstones, Jetsons, Yogi Bear, the Smurfs, and more fall under the Hanna-Barbera license, though some of those rights now reside with other studios. So, yeah, the plan is, as of 2016, the plan is still for, in 2020, it looks like now, for the Scoob movie to be the launching point for a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, or for short, an HBCU, or an HBEU, whatever you want to call it. But the question is, will this work? And I want to make sure that some of this is as recent as this year and the year. Let's say, I guess it is, because the other movie that they have planned, a live action one, is Tom and Jerry. I don't know if anybody's going to like that, but we'll see how they work that out. But this was reported by Screen Crush back in October. And it says Chris Columbus joins Scooby-Doo. In other words, one of the director, Chris Columbus. Yeah, here I'm reading here. So yeah, basically this is what Screen Crush points out. Not only do they talk about the fact that we're getting a Tom and Jerry film, probably even before Scooby-Doo or Scoob, or maybe around the same time. But Chris Columbus will be directing. Remember the other guy is going to be co-directing with Chris Columbus. And it says this will all be animation or in pen by the Edge of 17 and Bumblebee writer Kelly Furman Craig. The movie was originally supposed to come out at that time, 2018, and would have kicked off WB's Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. Yes, that's now a real thing, which will also include the Jetsons movie, New Flintstones, and Wacky Races movies, and of course Space Jam 2, which we'll get in July of 2020. I think 2021. I think. Anyway, but yeah, basically Scooby-Doo is going to start a cinematic universe. It looks like. But again, the question is, will it be a success? Will this be what's needed to really breathe life back into these franchises, which are still very popular, but you know not everybody watches. And I'm trying to be positive here. I'm going to hope for the best. But as far as what it could be, what this upcoming universe could be, they're talking about interlocking these these movies and these shows. And in my opinion, if you're going to interlock Scooby-Doo with any of these shows, you got to interlock him with franchises, shows that have a similar backdrop. That's what you got to do, or similar situation. Now they've tested these out in other film with other properties in the comics. They've tested these out with Tom and Jerry when it comes to other Hanna-Barbera properties in film, in direct-to-video films. But to me, I think what you need to do is, if you're going to select interlocking as far as Scooby-Doo goes, Johnny Quest is probably the best option to start with. You do, because here's what you do. You make the movie Scoob, and just like any movie nowadays does, you have an ending credit scene or post-credit scene, and it's the people in charge of, I guess, bringing the Mystery Inc. gang together, or whatever they got planned. And you have this organization that, I guess, like I said, I talked about it one time, and there's information about it online. But you have the ending credits, the post credits being the organization that brought Mystery Inc. together, contacting Quest Laboratories, or the Johnny Quest and his dad. And then you lead into the Johnny Quest movie, which inevitably could lead into a crossover. I'm just saying. But the way I think they should do it is, you can have your Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, but maybe you need to have categories for this cinematic universe. You could have your mystery category, which would be Scooby-Doo, Johnny Quest, and any other properties they have. And then you could have your anthropomorphic, or whatever they call it, your comedy section, your comedy category, your what do we call it? Your all-star. Let's call it your all-star category. Your all-star category, where you would have Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Top Cat, and a few others, Snagglepuss, you name it. You have them in that area, and then maybe you get a middle category, and you call it that your what would you call that? You could call that maybe your family category or something, or um, hmm, or slice of life category. There, you could call it your slice of life category, and you could have things like the Flintstones, the Jetsons. Wait till your father gets home. You name it. That's how I think they should do the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, separated it into three different categories that fit that genre of movies and franchises you want to interlock. So that's how I think it should go. Movie wise, I think they need to go with one movie each. I would look at doing two, maybe three movies a year once they get things hopefully rolling. And I think they should do a mystery movie, which would be like Scoob. They should do a slice of life movie, which could be like Flintstones. And you could do a all star category when it comes to, and you could do a movie out of the all star category, like let's say a Yogi Bear or Hanna-Barbera or a Huckleberry Hound, I should say. Now, one of the movies they did mention that's probably in the works is Wacky Races. I would put Wacky Races with the mystery category. I think it just fits better there. So that's what I think should happen, honestly. I think honestly that's what they should do is when they develop this, try to expand on it, but when they develop it, give each franchise they want to focus on, put each franchise into a category that best suits it, and then probably when the time is right, get ready to do a crossover for each of those categories. So those are just my thoughts on the upcoming proposed Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe and what they could do with it. All right. Next up, should My Little Pony: Friendship with Magic continue on as 44-minute movies and full-length movies as G4, or not as, but when G4 is over? I should correct that. Okay, let's save that. Be right back. Sorry, guys, had to I'll get the mail and also get me a cup of water, bottle of water. Sorry about that. Had to go, like I said, get the mail and get myself a bottle of water. Anyway, like I said, should MLP FIM continue on as 44-minute movies and full-length movies when G4 is over? Kind of like what Equestria Girls started with and sometimes continue on with today. And honestly, I think they should. And you can already see that happening. Let me adjust my headset there. But you can already see that happening already, not just with the best gift ever, which when I heard about it, I kind of mentioned that this would be the start of something new for them. But now you're going to see it continue this summer with the Rainbow Road Trip. So do I think they should continue on in that kind of form until we get to G5? I think honestly, yeah. I think we should. I think they should because I mean, you take a look at Equestria Girls, for example. They started out as movies and they kind of transitioned to 44-minute specials that are actually 5-minute, actually 5-part, 10-minute, actually 5 10-minute part episodes, like one each day or one each week or whatever, and they're all 10 minutes, but basically they're in parts. So I think they should. I think Friendship is Magic could really benefit from that because even though it just be like one story, one contained story, you have so much continuity to work off of over the past almost decade worth of Friendship is Magic that you could go back to whatever story arc or characters you need to bring in to be part of that story, and it could work either way. And there's a lot of ideas people would like to see happen. In fact, there's a lot of stories fans would like to see get adapted into stories for Friendship is Magic. And I think this is probably the best option for them to go with as far as continuing G4. I mean, they said that basically, look, it's not the end, it's the beginning. So, in my opinion, Best Gift Ever and Rainbow Road Trip are just the beginning. And I think they're going to continue probably doing this until, like I said, we get to G5 and maybe even get to that 2021 movie, whatever that might be. And again, I still think it's probably going to be more favorable of being its own kind of in its own continuity, its own thing when it happens, maybe. But anyway, I think, excuse me, I think yeah, what I'm saying is I definitely think that Generation 4 Friendship is Magic should continue on. Even after the series is done, they should continue on because, like I said, there's a lot of stories that fans would like to see probably get adapted, probably a lot of stories that could answer a lot of questions if they don't get answered in the last season. So, do I think they should continue on after it's over? Absolutely. Because this way, you're not just totally throwing away these established characters in the lore and whatever else is incorporated, but you're still continuing on their adventures. And to me, that's what's helped Equestria Girls. Despite how you might feel about Equestria Girls, that is what's helped popularize it. Heck, that's what's made me become a fan to the point that I actually have all 6 of the characters right there. And this is the new line of the character designs that they've come out with. But like I said, as a matter of fact, let me just move that down, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here if I can grab them. Here we go. This is the new line that they came out with because you could tell by the hand drawnness here of the characters. This is basically because they're starting up that. And hello, Kalo, what's up? No, I have not picked up those new ones yet. They're probably too expensive for my taste. I'll probably pick them up when they go down a little bit. But like I said, you can see here with the new hand-drawn stuff here that they're going more for that anime-like look. They're going more for the anime-like look. and everything. So, and then of course they got those new dolls or new figure statues that they got coming out um, very soon. So, if a concept like that, like I said, could work for Equestria Girls and get people to really get invested in them and actually start winning people over. Like Friendship is Magic won me over time just by hearing about all the positiveness that people saw in it, all the positive reviews and stuff people were saying about it, and me actually catching a glimpse here and there and getting a kick out of it. And of course, characters like Rarity and Luna, can't hurt either. Rarity and Luna, they don't hurt helping out either. But anyway, like I said, you know, it if Equestria Girls can go and do what they've done from being movies to 44 to 4 to being 44 to 50-minute specials, and they could use that to win people over, even after they start focusing more on the human equivalent. Well, Sunset exactly, Sunset's not actually human, if you know what I'm saying. But point is, if they could do that, then there's no doubt it could work for Friendship is Magic even after the show is officially over. Because, like I said, you're not totally throwing away that part of the franchise. You're still focusing on it. You're still building upon it. You're still working with it, especially with all these other stories you could adapt in the future. I mean, heck, they got a story right now going on in the IDW comic books that if this Cosmos character, whatever her name is not the villain at the end of season 9, although we know it's probably Grogar, another G1 villain, then they know fans are going to want to see that villain, that Cosmos character, whatever she is, show up some shape, form, or it be adapted somehow into animated form. And that's where I think a 44-minute, maybe full-length direct-to-video, direct-to-television movie could help out in the future and help continue and expand Generation 4 even after the show is officially done. So do I think they should continue in that kind of way, in that kind of format? Absolutely. I truly do. I really do. All right. So next up, could a film comedy about a woman with the powers to melt slash liquefy, shape shift into anything and anyone she wants, could that work and who should be the lead? In other words, could a comedy movie or movie comedy about a woman who gets the powers to melt and liquefy into water, puddle, whatever kind of substance, and then shapeshift into anything she wants, like an inanimate object or a plant, whatever, or into anybody as a disguise, could that work? And who should be the lead? I think with the right people behind it, it really could. I really think it could work. Um, I think with the right people behind it, it could definitely work. It definitely could definitely be something to look at in the future. Um, I mean, I know John Campa, and I apologize, John, if you're going to be watching this. I know he couldn't really answer it, but in my opinion, I'm just going to say, yeah, I think it could work, and I think it could be a huge comedy hit. I think if a concept like this is to be made into a film, into a movie, it could definitely work, and it would probably become like the number one hit movie in America, if not the world, for a little bit, just because of its story, because of its comedicness, and its visual effects. I think it could really work. Um, as far as as far as who I think should be in the lead, there's a lot of choices out there, a lot of great actresses out there that could really take the helm and just go with it and really make it funny, really make people get engaged with the comedy. But I think if anybody should get it, in fact, I'm going to look her up right now. think she was in this movie. Kristen Wiig, who also I think voiced Lola Bunny in the new Looney Tunes show. I think Kristen Wiig should really, in my opinion, be the focal point, be the characters, be the main lead in that kind of a story. Because Kristen Wiig, she is funny. She is funny. She could take, and here's the thing: depending on like the movie she could be in, she could be funny. She could be serious. Bridesmaid has shown with its serious moments at times that she could definitely work that. But I think Kristen Wiig could really, and even Maya Rudolph, who was on the Academy Awards last night, I think either one of them, but mostly Kristen Riggs, could really, or Kristen Wiig could really work in that role because she could really, I think, bring it in the end. I think she could really solidify herself. Well, not solidify. She doesn't have to solidify herself or anything, but uh, she could really, in my opinion, really just let loose. Depending, like I said, on who writes the script, who's behind it, and everything. I think she could really let loose. I really think she can do that because to me, it just to me, she works like I said, she could work up numerous roles. I mean, heck, she's done mostly comedies like Knocked Up, Adventure Time, Whip It, Paul, Bridesmaids, which she wrote which she was a co-writer on the screenplay. Um, I think, and heck, she did a voice in a Despicable Me. She did the voice, I think, of the mother in there, right? Or of Agent Lucy Wilde. She did the voice of Agent Lucy Wilde. So so to me, she could definitely work out. To me, it's a good choice. I'm going to put it this way: she's a good choice, in my opinion, to be in that kind of a role. So again, could a movie based on a woman getting the powers to melt, liquefy into water, puddles, whatever kind of liquidy substance, and shapeshift into anything she wants, like inanimate or plant, whatever, cars, whatever, or even into anyone she wants, do I think it could work? And honestly, I think it could. And I think Kristen Rigg could definitely, and this is the truth, I think could definitely fill those shoes to be the lead actress in that movie, to be the one that gains those powers, to gain those powers and have fun with it. I really think she could. I think she's the kind that could do that. So, yeah, I think it could work, and I think Kristen Rigg should be the one that takes the nomination. Oh, not nomination, but takes the role there. All right, number 7, the 7th one here, and I know this is going long, so I do apologize. Uh, favorite season, Valentine. It's kind of up in the air, but I'm gonna go between, because I did come in late in the season, late in the show, but I would say I'd say season 7 and a bit of season 8. But anyway, getting up to the next topic here. Should Warner Brothers take another stab at with the Curse of the 13 Ghost movie, but add in an alternate ending? Now, in case you guys don't know, Warner Brothers released Scooby-Doo in the Curse of the 13th Ghost, which was meant to be, or which is meant to be a follow-up and a conclusion to the 1986 to 1987 series, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which was the last, which was the last Scooby-Doo series in the original Scooby-Doo run. And the reason I talk about this, the reason I bring this up, is a lot of people were not happy with how the ending came about, with how it's basically presumed or assumed that everything that happened in 13 Ghosts, all the ghost encounters and stuff that Shaggy, Daphne, Scooby, Scrappy, and Flim Flam and went through was nothing but an illusion put on by Vincent Van Gogh's former archaeologist partner, who just wanted to get his hands on the chest of demons. And I think someone even said it was that Velma's the one that mentioned that it could have been a lack of oxygen due to the high altitude that Shaggy, Daphne, and Scooby were on when they were going through the Himalayas and all that. And the one thing I brought up when I talked about this ending was, how can three people or three characters all at once have the same hallucinations? It doesn't make sense. So you're saying Daphne turning into a werewolf because she drank wolfsbane in the first episode is a hallucination. You're saying them getting sucked into a comic strip or into a television is a hallucination. That don't make sense. I think honestly what happened, and I said this before, they just wanted to go back to that traditional safe trope, which is not a bad trope to go in because everybody's used to Scooby-Doo being like this or being in this kind of way. And that is, it's just a person in a mask. But you're basically telling everybody that Vincent Van Gogh's partner was responsible for all the ghosts that Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby encountered. And he's also responsible for them getting sucked into the comic strips and meeting that Quacky character, or whatever he was. They're responsible for Daphne going into a deep sleep a la Cinderella before Scooby woke her up. So you're saying that's all a hallucination. Daphne getting turned into a werewolf and then getting restored by that jumbo juice or whatever it is by Flim Flam. It's a hallucination. Does not make sense. It doesn't compute. Now, some would say it's cool. It makes sense, especially for nowadays. For the Scooby fans of nowadays, of the modern era, and maybe that's true. But if you're a longtime fan and you hear that this is happening, then you're going to expect it to stay true to what it was and give you an actual 13 Ghosts, not just tease it, but actually go there. So, do I think they should take another stab at the Curse's 13 Ghosts? In other words, re-release it, but with an alternate ending? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think what they should do while they get ready to release the Return to Zombie Island movie, which I think's in the works, what they should do is basically animate and create, and even bring them back, because they'll have them anyway, to do the voices for Return to Zombie Island. Have the cast come back and do an alternate ending. Do an alternate ending and climax for the movie that stays true to what 13 Ghosts was, and not just it was all hallucination. Because that's not going to fly with a lot of fans. That's not going to fly with a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to fly. And not a lot of people are going to enjoy that. Not a lot of people are going to enjoy. I mean, here's the thing. And my favorite generation of Valentine is Generation 1, believe me. Beast Wars and Prime are right behind that. And Beast Machines. Beast Wars, Beast Machines, and Prime. But like I said, they cannot do something like that and just expect people to brush it off. I mean, look, there was one person that did give it a positive review and said that they were cool with the ending and all that. But it's like I said, that's because the more modern day Scooby-Doo fans are willing to accept that, because they become accustomed to the man in the mask trope. And maybe once in a while, that little twist at the end that maybe perhaps it was real, perhaps it wasn't. But literally, Christian, you do agree with me on this, that It doesn't make sense. I mean, Christian, let me ask you. You're listening right now. Let me ask you. Let me ask Valentine. Let me ask anybody here on the chat. Does it make sense? What sense does it make to say that the 13 Ghost situation was all hallucinations due to lack of oxygen? How can that be for three individuals to have it happen all at once? Does that make sense to you guys? Does it make sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Again, I think what it was is somebody said it best. They were looking at a cash grab instead of looking at the fact that, oh, fans have been waiting for this. Fans want a good ending. Fans want a right ending, a correct ending. And yet that didn't happen. So honestly, Warner Brothers, if you're listening, if this gets to you guys, re-release Curse of 13 Ghosts, re-release Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts, or the Curse of the 13th Ghost, re-release it, and re-release it with an alternative ending that allows it to stay true and more faithful to the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and not just, oh, it's a Man in the Mask deal, and oh, by the way, everything that you guys encountered was nothing but an hallucination. Really? Then what do you call Vincent Van Gogh contacting them at the beginning of the movie via a freaking crystal ball? Is that a hallucination? I'm just saying. But again, the reason I say this is because people have said in their responses that they didn't like the ending, and some feel that this was nothing more than a cash grab. Let's just hope Return of Zombie Island is not going to be the same way. Whoever's in charge, of that movie, you stay true to Zombie Island. Stay true to it. Because you want to know what's funny? Even though I didn't watch it much, and what I saw and what I've heard, Mystery Incorporated was a great Scooby-Doo series. And it proved you could do supernatural stuff. And it would work and people would accept it. So you had your chance here with the Curse of the 13 Ghosts, but you didn't do it. What? You teased, oh, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But you want to go this direction and have Velma say, yeah, I just told Van Gogh that kind of stuff to make him feel better. And oh, by the way, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, everything that happened here was an hallucination, obviously, because you guys probably had lack of oxygen due to your high altitude. It doesn't compute. Doesn't make sense, guys. So I think Warner Brothers should. That's the honest truth. I think they should. Now, last but not least, could a streaming service that allows you to view new theatrical movies like the MCU movies, Marvel Cinematic Universe, while they're in theaters, could that work? Now, the reason I bring this up, in case you guys don't know, a couple years ago, I read an article where it was being proposed of a streaming service that's completely separate from any other streaming service, but a streaming service that would allow people to sit at home and on their 4K or 1080p, whatever televisions or projectors, sit back at home and watch a movie that's currently or just been released in theaters that's one of those big blockbuster films. This was at a time, I think, when Spider-Man Homecoming was being released, and they used that as an example. I think one of the things they said was what would make this service different is it would basically include, it would have you buy okay, I think what they said when they mentioned about this service was it would have you, when you order the service, it would have you buy a separate box. Or when you would order the service, you would get a separate box. In other words, it would not be a streaming service that would be part of your Roku or Amazon Fire devices or your PS4s or your Xbox Ones. Instead, it would have its own individual box, and that this box would be the only way you could watch these movies because they would be new movies in theaters. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, don't they already do that? In a sense, they kind of do that thanks to the independent films and some films by Netflix and Amazon. But what we're talking about, again, like I said, is movies like, let's say, Captain Marvel, the upcoming Captain Marvel, Shazam, the upcoming Wonder Woman movie, Wonder Woman 84, that is. The upcoming Star Wars Episode 9. That's what we're talking about, those kind of films. Imagine a streaming service that allowed you to do that from home. And that's what I read about one time. That's what I read about. That there was thoughts of probably doing that. A proposal, there was a proposal, and I don't know if it's still being talked about and being discussed in Hollywood among studios and business executives and whatever. But there was at one time a article that came out asking this question because it was being proposed. And like I said, the way it would work is you would have to buy, is if you ordered the service, you'd be getting a separate box. I don't know how big it was. It'd be probably the size of a regular digital cable box. But this box would allow you to watch the newest movies as they just came out in theaters. So let's say Avengers Endgame, which is scheduled for the end of April, comes out, but you don't want to go to the theaters, but yet you have this box that allows you to watch the same movie as you would in theaters, as you would have to travel on the road to, let's say, the closest theater located next to you. This streaming service would allow you to do it from home. You'd be able to watch it from home and avoid the crowd and all that. I think they even said you would have a pause option and stuff, just like a regular streaming service. But the only difference, like I said, it was to have its own box. And the cost. The cost is what got me. I think they said the cost for something like this would be between 50 to 75 bucks a month. That's a lot. Just to have a service where you have to have a separate box that allows you to watch movies like Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, Star Wars Episode 9, and all that from your comfort of your own home. But the question is, could it work? I think if they brought the price down and they worked with streaming service and they worked with different platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire, Sony for the PlayStation, Microsoft for the Xbox, and even Nintendo for the Switch, I think, and HP for like their computers and stuff, and Samsung and all of them that have these devices that allow you to watch Netflix and Hulu and all that on the go. I think if they were to work with those platforms, with those companies, and release something like this in the future as a service, and like I say, drop the price to maybe, I would say, 50 bucks at most, I think it could work. I really do. I think at 50 bucks a month and working with these different services, these different places, like I said, or these different platforms like Roku and Amazon Fire and all that, I think it could be a success. I think it definitely could be a success because you'd still be making your money back. You'd be charging people for a monthly subscription fee, which would, in a sense, as crazy as it sounds, would sound reasonable. But also you'd be getting a piece of the profit because you could be offering them movies at half the price or at regular theatrical price that they would pay at the theaters. Like, let's say somebody pays about $15 to $18 a ticket, you could charge them about $7.50 to $8 a ticket at half price. It's sort of like a promotional fee. In other words, your first 3 months, yeah, you still have to pay the fee of $50 or first 3 months, and after that you have to pay about $150 off your directly off your card or whatever. That for the first 3 months, those first 90 days, they can get half off buying a ticket or buying an opportunity to view that movie. So could it work? Could it work if some things like that occurred or were worked out? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it could work. And again, at $50 and $50 a month, like I said, as crazy as it sounds, it's more affordable and more reasonable, because that additional 25 you would add for $75 a month is only because people would have a separate box. That would only allow them to view it with that box. You know what I'm saying? But if they work with companies like Rootco, Amazon, Microsoft, Samsung, Sony, whatever, not only could they cut the price down to, let's say, $50 a month, $50 a month, but they could still charge people theatrical price, but they'd be doing it from the comfort of their home. They'd be doing it from the comfort of their home. But could it work? I think it could. Because one, let's say the closest theater you got next to your house or next to you is like 20 miles away. That could save you on gas, because gas nowadays is like an average of what? $3.25, $3.50 a gallon. You could save that. So let's say a ticket where and you can also have, and here's what they could do as well. Localization. Where you're living, that all depends on how much a ticket could cost. So let's say where you live, a ticket for a regular movie showing could be about $18. You could just sit at home and say, look, I'm going to spend $18 anyway, but I'm going to spend it at home by watching it here on the streaming service or whatever it would be. And together, let's say you only watch one movie a month. It costs you about $68. It's not bad. It's not bad at all when you think about it. Or if it's $15, all is where you live for a ticket, especially during the matinees, and they could do that. They could do the matinee hours too. That's $30 added to the 50. There you go. The point is, when I read about this article and I heard about it, I'm thinking, yeah, this could work, but it's the price range. It's the price range that would really throw people off, because 75, and I think even the highest was $100 a month, would not fly. But I think if they work with these other platforms like Rootco, Amazon Fire, Microsoft, Samsung, and Sony, and HP, and anybody else, I think it could work. I think it could really work, because you'd still be charging people about the theatrical price, but they wouldn't have to worry about, oh, I'm going to miss a scene or anything. They could just take the remote. Wait, I don't know. Oh, they could just take the remote and go, okay, pause. I'm going to go use the facilities, or pause. I'm going to go get me a beer. There you go. So could it work? Like I said, if they work certain things out and do what I've suggested, or I think they should do, I really think it could. So anyway, though, that's all I'm going to say, guys. That's all I'm going to say for now, guys. Thank you all for tuning in for this topics for this Monday edition of Topics on My Mind. Again, you want to know why I'm here today instead of working? Check out the special channel update video I did before this. That'll explain everything. And again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching live. I thank you all for your comments. Christian, Kaylon, Valentine, you know, thank you guys for listening, watching. And that's all I'm going to say, guys. So till next time, God bless. Take care. And I am out. I'm going to try to relax my voice for a little bit before I do any more live stream or any other videos. So thank you guys for tuning in, and peace. God bless. Take care.